Welcome to this special edition of the Tech Table. Today I've got a lot to talk to you about in the fall release of Premiere Pro CC 2014.1. As you'll soon see, it's got a brand new updated interface, new search bins, even a new project manager. We've got a whole new cross-platform codec from GoPro called the GoPro CineForm Codec, and it's absolutely amazing. It's actually a wavelet finishing codec. Been in the industry for quite a while and now is at GoPro, and I even have another video that I've done on that, as well as a blog article that you can check out. For my dynamic link users, switching back and forth from After Effects, we've got a whole new workflow for you guys for render and replacing complex projects. I think you'll really dig that one, as well as a way to work with multiple projects, something you guys have been asking for Premiere Pro for a long time, and some really new and unique tools to get the job done. How about new masking tools, new camera support from Phantom, Sony and Canon RAW, new GPU enhancements, and even a whole new way to work with master clip effects. Now, to make this a little bit easier, it is a 25-minute episode. I put down at the bottom here indicators to tell you which section that I'm on, so if you need to come back to the video, you can scroll up to there back or forth and figure out where it is that you want to start or where you left off. So let's go ahead and jump into Premiere Pro and take a quick look. The first thing you might notice is Premiere Pro's got a new look and feel. Nothing too drastic, just a nice interface, some new redesigned icons, a new blue color. A lot of thought has gone into this and a lot of discussion with customers. Again, we didn't want anything to be too drastic, but we wanted to go ahead and give it an updated look. Let's go ahead and play back the timeline and see this new interface in action. As you can see, there's lots going on this particular sequence, lots of Photoshop, lots of After Effects, dynamic link. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at how this is put together. I'll go ahead and point out a couple of cool things about the new interface that I really like. I've been a long-time Premiere Pro user, and I really like the way that we talk to customers and ask them what the pain points were in the interface, just little things. And I'll give you an example. One of the things you might notice is we're making much more use of the wrench now. So we used to have wing menus or side menus over here at the end of each of the panels. Those have been moved over here, so you can expect to find those right next to the end of the tab on each of the panels. And the wrench menu now really is defined more for those particular settings for that particular panel. In many cases, you would find these settings located here on the wrench as well as here on the wing menus. We've actually put some more thought into that and grouped and organized those a little bit better. The other thing you're going to notice is there's no more X on any of these controls up here. One of the things that we found out is when people were trying to move around different panels, they would actually click the X, close the panel, and if you were a new user, you were not that sure on how to get the panel back just by going under Window and bringing it forward again. So again, you'll only find X's in areas where it makes sense, where you need to close things, and in areas where you don't necessarily need an X, you actually have to go manually close that particular panel, which again, not that big a deal. If you wanted to close it, going on a wing menu here to close that is absolutely fine. Other things you might notice in the interface is when you hover over certain icons, it actually has a lot more contrast. In this particular case, it actually turns black to show you that you've hovered over it, and when you click on it, it actually turns gray to show you that that's not active. Again, if I want to go ahead and make that particular link section active, I click on it, and it turns blue to tell me that it's actually selected. So I think when you start to work with this, you'll really appreciate the work that's gone into this. A few other things I'll point out that are really cool. Down here in the project panel, they've actually done a little bit of work as well. So let me go ahead and close this folder down. And one of the things that I really like, if I go down here and I start to look for, say, a particular clip, and I want to see thumbnails on here now, you actually have the ability to show thumbnails. And I can scrub down here and I can sort of see all of these thumbnails right in place. Very, very nice. The other thing they've done, depending on the type of system you're working on, especially some of the new Retina MacBooks, or we even now support HiDPI for our Windows 8 users, we can actually go down here, change the font size if you're dealing with a particular type of screen or a situation where you just need to see extra large fonts. You now have this ability to go ahead and change that particular panel to make it easier to read. Very, very nice. I, for one, have been asking for that for a long time. So again, just lots of little things in here to make your life and jobs a little bit easier. Again, keep that feedback coming. You can see it actually results into new features in the product. So thank you guys for that, for anyone that turned those suggestions in. Another cool thing that the team has added is what we now call search bins. So I can click on this folder and create a new search bin, or if I'm searching for something over here in the search field, let's say I'm going to search for all the footage that has the word dance in it, and maybe there's some audio that has the word dance in it. So anything that has the word dance in it, I'm going to go ahead and type in here. You see it already starts to pull that up. Now, if I know that I want to keep these selections, I can go and click on this Create New Search Bin from Query. Once I do that, it actually created a new virtual bin called Dance, and all of those assets that have the word dance, and you'll see there's even some sub clips in there. It's really, really nice. I mean, I can get to things very, very quickly. It's not duplicating media. It's really just an alias of those particular assets in an organized fashion. So I can quickly find things and be able to identify those. And again, the icon on the folder shows you that that's a search bin, so again, fairly easy to organize. Another new feature is an update to our project manager. We've spent a lot of time talking to customers and studying new workflows to figure out if we're going to redesign this thing, what is the best way to go about it. So here's the result. So I'm going to go to File, Project Manager, and as you can see, the first thing that it does is it gives me all of my sequences listed, so I can select which ones are the ones that I really want to manage, because in many cases there's working sequences and things that don't really make any difference if I just want to archive this thing. So again, if you want to collect them all, you can go ahead and do that. Just check each one, and you have the ability to do a couple different workflows. So collect files and copy to a new location is really just a copy and relocate. So you can go ahead and pick a different volume. It keeps everything in its original format. So if you're using Red or Canon or Sony RAW, Cine files, all of those things will be copied in their exact format and their exact lengths. One of the things that helps with large format camera files like that is to use this option called exclude unused clips. So again, if you can save a lot of data by not including those clips. And you can see other options that are here and giving it a new clip name. The rendered movie, if you will, or as it moves the movie to a new location, it'll go ahead and give it a new name. Again, you have full control over that. And obviously you can look at the destination path, hit the browse button, and copy that to a new location. A more powerful feature and long requested feature for a lot of people is Consolidate Transcode. So if I click on here, you can see that I have choices for sequences, individual clips, or presets. Again, I can define my own presets from Adobe Media Encoder. So let's say I wanted to go ahead and create clips based on the sequence setting. So if it was 4K project or a 1080 project, it would go ahead and look at the sequence and consolidate and transcode according to that sequence and create that new project. As you can see under format, you've got a couple different choices here. And these are just family of choices here. So I can go DNx HD, MXF, or QuickTime. Under QuickTime, one of the things we're really excited to announce is our brand new GoPro CineForm finishing codec. For those of you familiar with CineForm, it's fantastic codec. I actually have another video on that. You can catch that where I go into this codec at length. Again, I've been a long time CineForm user. It now belongs to GoPro. It's a beautiful wavelet codec. And you now have choices where you can decide CineForm file with an alpha. So I might go ahead and save this out as a CineForm file. Now keep in mind, this is a finishing codec, so it's a pretty good size file by the time you're done. So if you want to have a particular archive that will allow me to recompress at a high quality later and not worry about generational loss or too much generational loss, that is a fantastic codec. And again, it's a beautiful cross-platform codec, so if you're in an environment where you're mixing Macs and PCs, that's really your best bet. And at this point, you can just click OK, and it'll start to collect all of this information and analyze the project and do what it needs to do, transcode media, and you'll end up with a brand new project. Again, you can go ahead and look at that other video that I have up online, and it really gets into this into much, much more detail. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what that did once the Consolidate and Transcode was complete. As you can see, it gave us a new folder called Transcoded DKH Premiere Pro Party Life 2014_1. If I double click on that, you'll see that all of these particular files in here have been transcoded with obviously today's date. And if I go down here, I'll actually see that it gave me a sequence to match all of the new locations, the new transcoded material. So everything is ready to archive. Just a great feature. Now that you've had a chance to see Consolidate and Transcode, we can actually use that technology in another place. And to me, this is every bit as important, and maybe even more so for some, and that's being able to use that technology in your sequence or down on the timeline. So as you'll see here, I've got a fairly effects-heavy timeline. But one thing you don't see is a whole lot of dynamic linking going on. There's a reason for that. So I'm going to jump over to this particular clip here, right mouse click, and send it over to After Effects using Dynamic Link. Now I'll just go ahead and apply something quick. So I'll just duplicate this layer. I'm going to drag and drop this over here. And let me just change a few parameters here. Add a couple of quick keyframes. Scatter these out a bit more. And if I look at this, I'll see if I like that effect. That looks pretty good. I'm going to jump back over to Premiere Pro. And as you see, everything looks exactly like I would expect it to. I've got access to my After Effects projects. Using Dynamic Link, I can make all the changes I want. Now, there's going to come a point where this particular work is done, and you want to go ahead and render that out. A lot of times, people will jump back over to After Effects and render it out. But in fact, using the same technology you saw in Consolidate and Transcode, I can render and replace right here in Premiere Pro. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a render and replace command. I've got some formats that I can select from, like DNx, MXF, and QuickTime, and I've even got choices under the QuickTime header where I can even choose that new GoPro CineForm finishing codec with or without an alpha. I'm going to go ahead and leave that as a ProRes and click OK. And now you'll notice that my clip is now a fully rendered movie. You can see it's a .move. Now, this particular clip is fairly lightweight. It's just a standard clip 16:9. But for those longer renders, it's great to know that I actually have access to render and replace on the timeline. And a lot of you might be asking, can I revert back to that After Effects project in case I need to make a change? And if you're an After Effects user, you know we've always had the ability to embed the project inside of the movie. And in this case, it's no different. We just give you the ability to restore the unrendered, and it gives you access right back to the AEP. Again, the best of both worlds. Let's take a look at working with multiple projects at the same time. We've got a pretty unique workflow that's really easy on system resources, and it's quite advanced. So I'll start out just by jumping over to my media browser, which again is how I go through and look at all my media. One of the things that the media browser can allow you to do is it can actually allow you to look inside of projects. So for example, if I jump over to a folder that I know that has a lot of resources, this particular folder and project about 44 gigabytes in size, you'll see that the media browser is telling me that there's Premiere Pro projects in it. what I can do is double click on those projects, and I'm able to use the power of dynamic link to read what's inside that project. And now none of these items have been imported into my project. I'm just looking at them. So here I can see there's a sequence. Now what I can do that's brand new in this version of Premiere is I can drag the sequence up to the source monitor. It's going to take a look at what's inside of there and give me a read-only state. This means that I'm able to read and play back all of this material. And just to show you that it's a fully working project, I'm going to go ahead and play it back. And it plays back fine. This is fantastic. So now this means I can use Media Browser to look at elements that are in existing projects. Now we actually take it a step further. I'm going to go over to my project. I'll start a new sequence. It doesn't really matter that this is a DV sequence because I'll change that in just a second. And I'm going to go ahead and stack this sequence on top of another sequence. We actually refer to this internally as pancaking. So I'm going to pancake both of these on top of each other. And as you've probably already figured out, if this is a read-only file, and again, none of these are committed to my project yet, they're not committed until I select the clips that I want to bring over, and this includes all the effects and different types of transitions, and anything that's been applied to those clips will actually come across as well. So I'm going to drag and drop these up here. It automatically detects that, hey, these don't match. Let me go ahead and match those. And now these sequences now belong to this Party Life project that's here. So I've now have all of those elements. If there's a title sequence or something that I need that's over here, that was a fairly complex piece that I did, I know I want to borrow it in this piece. Now all of those elements now have been added to this particular project. So we don't start adding clips and taking up all of those resources until you commit that you actually need them. Another thing about the media browser that's very unique is you can actually have multiple media browsers. So I can open up another media browser. I might click out to a server, or I might click out to another volume and take a look at some other sequences that way. So I can sort of spread these around and have multiple media browsers sitting right next to each other. So here you see I've got a media browser here and I've got another media browser. I could undock this media browser and maybe float this one over here while I go in to go look at a particular project and compare these two projects side by side. So I might come in here and let's just grab another one. So I've got this particular project open here, and I go back over here, and I've got multiple ones. I can drag things in and out as I need to. If I grab an element, I could actually bring an element down here directly from that bin. So there's all sorts of things that I can do in this type of advanced workflow. Another great update to this release is what we've done with our masking and tracking. We've actually enhanced it quite a bit, and let me give you an idea what I mean. So I've got a fairly easy thing to track. If you've seen our tracker before, you know it's very good. I just wanted to have an image that's easy for you to see this particular feature because I want to show off the tool more than the tracking. So the first thing I'll do is I'll jump over to my effects and I'll just grab something that is going to make this easy to follow. So I'll grab a three-way color corrector. And I'll go down and maybe I'll just up the saturation a bit so you can sort of see the effect that's happening. So I'll just make this green screen a little greener, a little brighter. And that looks okay. Now, as you know, our tools before, you had an ellipse and you had a way to create a 4-point or multi-point polygon. Remember, you can always just hold down a modifier key and add more points as you need to. But one of the things that was missing was a true Bezier tool. So now you have that. So now you've got a pen tool that will allow you to come in here and just select your subject much more precisely for that track and have all the different types of tools that you would expect. So come in here and play around with your handles and get that exactly the way that you'd like to have that in that particular effect. Now I'm going to go ahead and track this and then show you a few other things that are unique about this particular Bezier tracking tool. Again, it's a fairly easy track. So what I wanted to show you was these additional tools that are up here. So I'm going to drag this out a little bit, and you start to see that I have some different controls here. So let's go down and make a color adjustment so this really starts to stand out. So I'm going to blow him out just a little bit so you can see what's going on with this tool. And as I grab these tools, they're really intuitive. You can start to see how much I can feather this out by playing with these controls. Absolutely easy to use and easy to understand. And then click off of that, and it's going to give you the effect exactly like you would expect it. So enhanced masking and tracking. Let's take a look at some GPU optimized playback. We've done additional work for native support for some new 4K formats and improved GPU performance for 5K and 6K. And we even support some new formats. So let me jump over to my media browser and show you a few of those. As you can see here, we've got a phantom cine clip at 1,000 frames a second. And let's go ahead and add that to a project. So from the media browser, I can just drag and drop into an empty timeline, and that will actually give me the appropriate sequence settings. And at this point, I'll just find a nice clip here, wind that back. You can see it's very, very fluid on the timeline. Even if I bring this up to full quality, very, very nice on the timeline. And I can even come over to my effects panel and add some color treatment to that. Let me just drag and drop something quick like a three-way color corrector. Like so. Now bring that up full screen and go ahead and play that out. Absolutely beautiful. So very, very nice response. Again, I'm on a standard laptop. This is a MacBook Retina laptop, so nice SSD speeds in there, which really do help for footage like this, but it's not dropping any frames. It's playing them all back. Absolutely stunning. So the GPU work is really incredible for this cycle. Now let's go ahead and jump back over to the media browser, and I'll show you a few other formats that we've been working on. In addition to Canon RAW, we've now got even better support for Sony's RAW format. So this XAVC file, I'm going to drag and drop into a blank timeline. Again, directly from the media browser, you can drag and drop this in here. And let's just find a nice area here. This looks pretty good. I'm going to set this at half because, as I recall, this is a 4K sequence, as you can see here. So let's go ahead and play that back at half. I'll bring it up full screen. Absolutely stunning playback. And that's a quick look at improved GPU performance. The next feature is an update to our master clip effects. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with master clip effects, the idea is it allows me to apply an effect to a clip maybe before I apply it on the timeline. If I happen to have a group of clips that all need a particular color adjustment or some other contrast adjustment applied to it, I can go ahead and apply them before I really start working with them. Or in contrast, if I already have clips on my timeline and maybe I've used them in either multiple sequences or multiple areas, I'll just split this clip in half and click this over here. You'll know that this clip and this clip are part of the same clip. What happens if I want to go ahead and make an adjustment here and have this clip now affect this clip plus anywhere else it's used in this particular project? So I want to be able to control it at a master level. So the difference is if I go over here and I apply a fast color corrector maybe to this clip, it turns purple just like you would expect to show that there's an effect that's been applied. Now, if I want to do the same thing here and also have it be applied here, and again, anywhere else in the project that it's used, I can double click on here and go ahead and hit the F key and perform a matched frame. Now I'm going to grab my fast color corrector, drag it up here to the source window. Now you'll notice that a red line has appeared under the effects badge on both of these clips because, again, they're from the same clip. And if I jump up to my effects controls, you'll see on my master effects controls, I can come down here and I can start to make some sort of adjustment here. Maybe I'll just, make that a little bit red. We play around with my black levels just to make it obvious. Okay, now you'll notice when I come over here, both of these clips now inherit that same difference. And if I come back over here and I want to go ahead and shift that color around, you'll see that the color's been applied. And if I go ahead and select this clip, go back over here, I can actually start to work and see that color happen. And if I go back over here, you'll see it's also been applied there. It's a very, very handy type of effect. Now, to make this easy to figure out whether or not you've applied one, when you not only do you see it down here in the sequence, you also have the ability to see whether or not you've applied any effects to this as a standard effect. So, for example, if I had gone in here and grabbed a stylized, I'll just make it easy, like an emboss, obviously that's a change. You'll see that the badge is purple and it has a master clip effect, versus over here it just has the master clip effect. So you can really have the best of both worlds and be able to easily and visually be able to see when I've applied an effect, because I can click on here and I can remove that emboss from here very easy. And of course I can click back over here on the master clip effect and click on that and delete it, and now you'll notice the red badge is gone. So much, much easier to manage. And as you can see, there's some great new updates to Premiere Pro CC 2014.1. Even all of your other favorite audio and video applications from Adobe got updates as well. Let's take a quick peek at their new interfaces. That makes a wrap for this version of the Tech Table. We'll see you guys next time.